My name is Ramon Ray with Small Business Trends. We're at Influencer Marketing Days in Midtown New York City. Shane, thanks for joining us for a discussion all about influencer marketing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Shane, you have a book that came out. You do a lot of work with influencers and those who want to market their products. Give us a bit of background of who Shane is.
Yeah, so I've actually been in this space for about 5 years now, doing influencer marketing. Started off back in the day before there was software or anything like that. We used Excel spreadsheets, which maybe some of you guys might have heard of.
Wait, you use Excel spreadsheets?
It's a little bit of an older thing. They're kind of outdated now. Now there's stuff called software, so that's something to look into. But yeah, we use those actually to track for brands and negotiate with influencers. And it was, you know, like I said, I hate to sound like I'm the old school guy here at the conference, but I've been doing this for a little while.
Very nice. And what have you learned, quick before we get into some tips and advice, what have you learned at the conference? There's a lot going on. We hear the big brands talking, those who have product and services. Anything that you're picking up, chatter that we should know about? What's going on?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that I'm hearing at the conference is that they're talking about there's a little bit of a disconnect with influencers and brands sometimes, and a lot of the brands, some of the problems are is they're not asking for analytics at the end of the campaigns, and so brands are doing influencer marketing. A lot of them are doing it incorrectly. They're just in this space because there's a lot of analytics. There's a lot of stuff that I think you need to look into to, you know, once you do a campaign, you want to know have certain KPIs and goals. So once you set those things up, you need to make sure that you're hitting those goals. I mean, how do you know if you get to your goal if you don't set them? So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen is a lot of the brands are they're in this space and doing it, but they're not doing it correctly because they're not setting up the campaigns correctly.
Got it. And with that, let's lead right into some more tips. Any more tips and advice, you know, from Mr. Influencer Marketing himself for the brands as they're looking to work with influencers and market their products? Any tips for them?
I got the title. I'm going to put that on my business card. That's awesome. Yeah. So, you know, I think for me, once again, in regards to, you know, brands, I think it's once again, I talked about the KPIs and talked about goals. I mean, I think that to me is the biggest thing. And another thing is when you're working with influencers, it's extremely important to do your research. You can't just, you know, just because somebody has a high following or they have this and that, you have to look at engagement rates. You have to look at their demographics. Back in the day when I would look at, look at influencers and their campaigns, I would have to evaluate it off of kind of eyeballing things off of likes and the comments and stuff like that because there wasn't a lot of insight. There wasn't a lot of analytics behind it. Now these days there's plenty of platforms that you can go into and you can take a look at the analytics, the demographics, male, female, where they're located, you know, depends on the product and if it's a, you know, brick and mortar and that kind of thing. So it's important to do the research. You want to, you know, what I do is I usually get, you know, whatever, 100 influencers. If we want to do a campaign with 10 of them, then I break it down to 30 or 40 of them and then I evaluate each campaign or each influencer and take a look at all those analytics because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're hitting the right market. I mean, that's the whole idea of marketing. Marketing can be awesome, but if you're going after the wrong audience, then it's not going to be successful.
So you want to make sure that, you know, hey, you've picked an influencer and wondering why isn't this working? Maybe they're targeting the wrong thing. You didn't go deep enough. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's one of the biggest problems is that people will come to me and say, hey, I did an influencer marketing campaign and it wasn't successful. Well, most of the time when I dig deeper and I look into those campaigns, the issue is that they weren't going after, they didn't have the right influencer or they didn't have the right message or they didn't have the right content, and that's a huge issue. So you got to make sure all those things connect when you're going after the influencers.
Okay. And now let's talk to those who want to be influencers, Shane.
Yeah.
You know, somebody has a big Instagram following or highly engaged, as we're learning right now, Facebook, whatever it is. What's your advice to them? Everybody wants free clothes. Everybody wants a free house. Drop some science on us and help us understand to those who want to be influencers, what should they be doing and what should they not be doing as well?
Yeah. So this is the thing. I guess if you somehow get a free house for being an influencer, get a hold of me because I'd like to know how you did that because that would be awesome. The free house thing would be awesome. I don't know who's offering that, but if they do, once again,
we'll let you know.
Shane@shanebarker.com. Please email me. But you know, I think the thing is that one thing that influencers have to take a look at when it comes to brands is first of all, is it going to be a good fit, right? I mean, you understand your audience, you understand the content that you should be putting out with your audience. So it's important if you're working with a brand and a brand's trying to force you into putting in a campaign that you don't think is going to fit with your audience, I wouldn't do it, right? It needs to be a good fit on both sides. If you're looking to jump into the space and you think you're an influencer, the cool part about these days is you can have 500 followers and be an influencer. If you're a yoga instructor and you've got 500 highly intense people that are following you, then you are an influencer. It's now the big question is how do you monetize that, right? How do you make the money from doing that and how you're able to pull in the big brands? And I have, you know, not to do a shameless plug here, but I have a course that's going to be coming out to help influencers on exactly that.
And you said that was a course coming out to help influencers, not shameless plug. But
No, well, yeah, it's not called shameless plug. This is just my shameless plug, but maybe I'll call it shameless plug. I don't know. We'll see if that goes. Shane's shameless plug. I like that. But no, I mean, the idea of it is to be able to help influencers be able to monetize, and you know, when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to their contracts, when it comes to, you know, working with brands, and how do you go about doing that? Because there's once again, with the brands and the influencers, there's a little bit of a disconnect on, you know, when it comes to pricing and when it comes to like what you need to negotiate, what you need to have in your contracts. You know, once again, with the FTC, you got to make sure that you're, you know, and, you know, make sure that you're doing things correctly with hashtag ad or sponsor or anything like that. So there's just a lot of things that you have to do to be able to, once you get yourself out there, to be able to do it correctly and make sure you don't get your hand slapped or fined or anything like that.
Love it. Anything else you want to share with us, Shane? I think this has been a good intro, and we'll definitely check you out. But anything else you want to share to the influencers or to those who want to, the brands? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, once again, I think, you know, one of the things to take a look at is that when you're, you know, when you're putting these campaigns together, just make sure you do the research. I mean, once again, I think that's on both sides for the influencers and the brands. You got to do your research. If you're not going in there and evaluating, making sure this is going to be a good fit, then you're really just kind of throwing stuff up on a wall and hoping that it sticks. So my thing is, once again, make sure you're working with the right people, and I think you guys will have awesome campaigns.
Awesome. And Shane, one more time, tell us how we can reach you, your course and book and other things. What give us when we used to reach you?
Yes, you can. My website is just shanebarker.com. That's ShaneBarker.com, and that took me a second. And you can reach me at Shane Barker. And once again, I help people, you know, whether it comes with influencer marketing campaigns, any kind of content marketing is another thing that I'm huge with. I write for Inc. and Forbes and all the other fun stuff, and I've actually written for you guys as well. And I appreciate the opportunity for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And again, my name is Ramon Ray with Small Business Trends at Influencer Marketing Days in Midtown New York City with the awesome Shane. And again, Ramon with Small Business Trends.